I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, a federal magistrate judge presiding over the criminal case brought against George Santos by the Department of Justice, has just issued an order granting George Santos one final extension to explain why the identities of the individuals who paid for his bail, who posted $500,000 of bail, should remain secret. Why is it secret in the first place is completely baffling and troubling. I mean, George Santos is a member of the House of Representatives, which he completely and utterly disgraces each and every day. Kevin McCarthy doesn't seem to care, but he works for us. The fact that he engaged in criminal conduct and is now still being paid by us, the taxpayers, and the individuals who posted his bail where he would otherwise now be in prison, the fact that their identities remain secret, to me is utterly despicable. A number of media companies filed a motion a few weeks back to unseal the identities of all of the individuals who posted the bail. I think it is 3 individuals who came together to post the bail. The New York Times filed a motion to unseal back on May 23rd. On May 25th, 2023, another group of media companies, ABC News, Bloomberg, NBC Universal, Newsday, which is the local Long Island paper, the Wall Street, Washington Post, among others, filed another motion to unseal. On May 30th, the federal magistrate judge, Judge Anne Shields, she's from the Eastern District of New York, where the case is being prosecuted. She issued a minute order requiring George Santos and the Department of Justice to provide their response, whether or not they think this information should remain sealed or be unsealed. This was the order by Judge Shields back on May 30th of 2023. She wrote, "The government and defendant are directed to respond to the pending motions to unseal by June 2nd, 2023, so ordered by Magistrate Judge Anne Shields." And then, as the deadline approached, as June 2nd arrived, George Santos' lawyer filed the following. June 2nd, 2023, instead of actually filing a motion responding to the demand by the media companies under the First Amendment to unseal the names of those individuals who posted bail for George Santos, which still remains a secret, George Santos filed first motion for extension of time to file response as to the motion to unseal the document filed by the various media companies. And this is what George Santos' lawyer said. It was such a pathetic filing by George Santos' lawyer. Here, let's just pull it up right here. Dear Judge Shields, it's a letter brief. I know it looks odd, but in federal courts in New York, you can file these letter briefs. That's why they're writing letters to the judges. You may recall our coverage here on the MeidasTouch Network of the E. Jean Carroll trial, where a lot of the motions that were filed were through this letter brief format as well. And here is the letter. Defendant George Santos, request for an extension to respond to the motion to unseal the suretors. The suretors are the people who posted the bail for $500,000. Dear Judge Shields, I am the attorney of record for Congressman George Santos in connection with the above-referenced criminal matter. 2 letter requests have been submitted already, like the grammar's off. 2 letter requests have been submitted on behalf of media organizations, essentially seeking the unsealing of the identity of our suretors, judicial records, and related proceedings. Not essentially. That's what the motions are seeking. I don't know why the use of the word essentially there. Your Honor has given the government and the defendant until today, June 2nd, 2023, to respond. while I have been working diligently on our response due to the gravity of this situation and my efforts to distinguish our case from others, I am respectfully requesting a brief extension of defendant's deadline to respond until Monday, June 5th, 2023. I have conferred with the AUSA Ryan Harris, that's the Assistant United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, who is leading the prosecution for the Department of Justice, Eastern District of New York Division. And the AUSA Ryan Harris has authorized me to advise the court that the government has no objection to the defendant's request, to George Santos' request for the brief extension of time. However, to be clear, the government is not seeking any extension of time for their response. I called and spoke to Miss Dana Green, senior counsel from the New York Times, who indicated that she would object to any extension of time for defendant in sum and substance because it would result in a delay of the First Amendment right of access to these records. Pursuant to Section 3 of Your Honor's individual practice rules, I respectfully pointed out to Ms. Green that it is usual courtesy among attorneys to grant reasonable requests for adjournments, pointing out that I am only asking for an extension to Monday, and Ms. Green again indicated that she would not consent. Good for her. I reached out to Mr. Jeremy A. Chase at the law firm of Davis Wright Tremaine LLP, and a person by the name of Amabel, I don't know why he puts that in quotes, indicated that Mr. Chase was out of the office. I left a voicemail for Mr. Chase and called back to speak to, quote, Amabel again, and she indicated that she would email Mr. Chase. After awaiting just a few minutes longer, I again called and spoke to Amabel, who indicated that she did email Mr. Chase, but had not yet heard back from him. This is defendant George Santos' first request for an extension of time. The requested extension of this deadline will not affect any other scheduled dates. Please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have. I just want to point out, going to the first paragraph here, based on the gravity of this situation and the lawyer's efforts to distinguish our case from others, I am respectfully requesting a brief extension. Look, the gravity here of the situation is not revealing the identity of the suretors. The identity of the people who posted $500,000 bail, that should be an easy one. We, the public, have an absolute First Amendment right to see who is funding this crook, and I think we will find out that information next week. But when you refer to the gravity of the situation, it is not a ton of gravity to the situation for you to file a very simple motion to the court stating your position one way or the other. And clearly, based on this letter, George Santos, when the lawyer says over here, to distinguish our case from others, yeah, because in the other cases, the identities of the suretors are given to the public, and that's what the media pointed out in their brief. So George Santos wants to find some exception. With all of these MAGA Republicans, they act like they are above the law. And the fact that George Santos continues to engage in this obstructive conduct, to engage in this shady behavior, again, it's also just an indictment on the state of the modern Republican Party that this is what is going on. It's trying to hide the identity of these people. By the way, with respect to the Department of Justice here, I think ultimately the Department of Justice will agree to give this extension because that is just it is part of the standard courtesy. If you give a 1-day extension, they're like, 1 business day. So what at the end of the day? It'll be briefed by next week anyway. But look, the judge issued a fairly terse order saying no further extensions of time. Fine, I'll give you until Monday, George Santos, but no more time after that, because these federal judges realize at this point what these MAGA litigants and MAGA criminal defendants do. Delay, delay, delay. So here was the order by the judge, June 2nd, 2023. Order granting motion for extension of time to file response reply as to George Anthony DeVolder Santos. Defendant is granted until 5 p.m. on Monday, June 5th, 2023 to respond to the pending motions. There shall be no further extensions of time. Signed by Judge Anne Y. Shields. Look, we, the people, want this information. Good for all of the media interveners who filed this motion to release the name of these suretors. That should not be kept secret at all. We will be, of course, reporting next week when we see George Santos' motion, further digging the hole deeper here and trying to now hide the identity of these individuals and to hide judicial proceedings where the identities of these individuals were discussed and where these individuals participated in. We're going to find out that information, folks. And the law here is on the side of the First Amendment. So I expect George Santos to ultimately lose this motion. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We are on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your incredible support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch for some of the best pro-democracy content. And check us out as well wherever audio podcasts are downloadable. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Have a great day.
We've got pride. Do you? We're celebrating Pride Month with a brand new collection of tanks, V-necks, and more. Go to store.MeidasTouch.com right now and grab yours. Oh, and don't forget that koozie.